The Night Floaters. The Girls' Night Out. When I was growing up in the 70s, there was an adult world and a youth world, and they didn't mix. In the youth world, we knew all about the night floaters, but if the adults knew about them, they weren't letting on. Not that we ever asked the adults about anything important. We knew they would lie. The few times I heard an adult allude to the floaters, they said they didn't exist, and I knew that wasn't true. They had victimized me since I was 9 years old. They victimize me still. But most of my friends forgot about the night floaters after they left high school and joined the adult ranks. And on the rare occasions I talked to them, they claimed the floaters were an urban legend, something we made up to scare each other and to frighten the little kids. They've forgotten what they saw, what they experienced. They've forgotten. I wish I could. So I was surprised when I got an email from Connie, who was 2 grades ahead of me, a huge gulf back then. Hi, Warren. I don't know if you remember me, but we went to Bartow's school together. You had a brush cut back then, and I used to call you Brush Cut Bob, and I used to stroke your bristly head just to bug you. I also made fun of you wearing dark glasses at night and on cloudy days because of your vision problems. I used to call you Cool Cat, too, to make fun of you. I'm sorry I was so insensitive, but that's not why I'm contacting you. I've been told you collect information about the night floaters and are an expert on them. My friends all say they never really existed, but we know better, don't we? This is what happened. Connie shared the following story with me. The summer before she started high school, Connie was sleeping out in a tent in her backyard with her best friend Linda. Yes, they let girls sleep out in the backyard back then, in those more innocent times. The plan was to wait for the old folks to fall asleep, then meet up with some older guys, as in grade 12 guys, at the local arena. What were they going to do? Well, nothing good happens after midnight, but they never got there. They were lying quietly in their sleeping bags, waiting to take off, and talking about their favorite topic, the boys at school. You know Brian, that skinny dude. The creep? With the greasy hair? That's the one. I call him Brows, like he has those thick eyebrows, you know. He always stares at me. I'm glad we're not in the same classroom. Well, at least he doesn't follow you home, Connie said. He followed you home? Linda was shocked. All the time, but he keeps well back, like he was going someplace else. But he shouldn't be over here at all. He lives on Kerr Street. Yeah, Kerr Street, Linda said, chuckling. Connie dropped her voice even lower. Sometimes I think he's outside the house, at night, you know? That he's a peeping Tom like? Yeah. Sometimes I think there's someone spying on me. We have this little window in the bathroom, near the ceiling, and sometimes when I'm showering, I feel like someone's watching me. It's probably your brother, Connie smirked. No, he says I'm ugly. The girls were silent for a few minutes, thinking about Greasy Brian, Brows, the peeping Tom. They say he's a night floater, eh? Huh. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. And then? What was that? Linda whispered. I don't hear anything, Connie whispered back. There it is again. Must be the wind. It's not windy, Linda said, slightly raising her voice. Shh, Connie hissed. But even she could hear it, a gentle moaning sound that carried through the still August night. It was quiet in suburbia back then, when people went to bed early. Given the nature of the sound, Connie thought she had the answer. It must have been a train. Linda snorted loudly, covering her mouth in a belated attempt to quiet down. Both girls froze, waiting for a sleepy parent to tell them to keep the noise down. But nothing happened. Let's go, Connie said. They went, and the moaning was forgotten. They decided they'd been too visible on Queen Mary Drive, but if they could cut through the woods at the top of the street and get across the farmer's field, it would be easier to sneak over to the back streets and so get to the arena. They had almost reached the path through the woods when Linda hissed, "There's someone behind us." "Where?" "Back there." Connie took a quick look and saw, a few blocks behind them, the figure of a slim man passing beneath a streetlight. From that distance, the figure appeared insubstantial, ethereal, and menacing. "Let's go before they catch up," Connie said, grabbing Linda's arm to pull her forward. They entered the woods and Connie added, "It's probably some guy going for a walk." "At midnight? I thought it looked like Brian the Creep." Connie didn't have an answer to that. They were part way down the path when Linda said, "There it is again." The moaning noise from earlier in the evening was distinctly audible. As they stood still listening, the volume of sound gradually diminished. Connie said, "Come on, let's go," when a disembodied head flew out of the darkness, mouth agape, teeth closing with a loud snap. Both girls screamed, and Connie swung her arm out, knocking the head aside. "It tried to bite me! It tried to bite me!" she wailed, as both girls began running down the path, heading for the farmer's field and the lights of the nearby apartment buildings. And then they stopped dead. The head hovered 5 feet off the ground, blocking the trail. It had a thin, dark face, long, greasy hair, and thick eyebrows, which seemed to join up in a black bar above a pair of red, glowing eyes. "It's Brian the Creep," Linda gasped. "He's a floater." As they watched petrified, the creep opened his yellow mouth and swooped at them. Shrieking, the girls turned and, "What the hell is going on here?" The dark figure of a man, who appeared to be dressed in green work clothes, came running down the path towards them. "There's a head," Connie blurted. "Eh?" Linda realized how stupid it sounded, so she said, "There's someone chasing us." The man, who was middle-aged, pushed past them and went a ways down the trail before returning. "I don't see anyone." He sounded suspicious. "You must have scared them off." "Say, ain't you so-and-so's daughter?" the man said, naming Connie's father. "What are you girls doing out at this time of night?" We were going over to Mac's Milk to get some snacks." "It's closed." "Oh, I guess we lost track of time. Do your parents know you're out here?" The man didn't wait for an answer but said, "I'll walk you home." They walked back in strained silence. When they arrived back at Connie's house, the man said, "I don't want to see you girls running around, eh? Nothing good happens after midnight." You're not going to tell my dad, are you, sir?" "Not if you stay put for the rest of the night." The girls returned to their tent, rather crestfallen, but not before Connie snuck into the garage and helped herself to her brother's Louisville Slugger. "Just in case the creep comes back," she told Linda. "He's a floater for sure. That moaning noise must have been him too." Amazingly enough, the girls were soon asleep, but sometime during the watches of the night, Connie found herself wide awake. There was something outside the tent. She was sure of it. And then she heard it, a low and exceedingly menacing chuckle. Linda was now awake, but Connie signaled her to be silent. The girls cowered there for several minutes, while the ghoulish laughter continued. It seemed to come from all sides, as if the prowler was walking, or floating, around the tent. Connie's hands instinctively closed around the handle of the baseball bat. Both girls realized, at the same instant, the flap of the tent was open. Paralyzed with fear, they watched the dark oval of a human head floating through the opening, and in a flash, Connie swung the bat, which smacked the head like it was a coconut, propelling it across the yard. They zipped up the tent right quick. Eventually, they fell asleep, but I doubt they had pleasant dreams. At first light, they nervously unzipped the tent and scanned the yard for a disembodied head. Connie had hit it so hard, she was sure she'd killed him, but there was nothing to be seen. Either Brian had floated off on his own, or someone, or something, had collected his probably rather numb skull. Numb skull. Brian disappeared for a while, but the next time the girls saw him, he appeared to be recovering from a car accident. 2 black eyes, swollen cheeks, and a broken nose. He gave the girls a wide berth and avoided them even more after Linda told her brother Rick, who told Brian he would clean his clock if he molested his sister again. You didn't mess with Rick. Not that he cared that much about Linda. He just liked fighting. Brian moved away around the Christmas holidays. He wasn't missed. Over the years, Connie met others she thought might be floaters. Dark, greasy, furtive people. But she never experienced another attack. And that was Connie's story. In her email, she said, "Most people who remember you think you're a crank, that the night floaters were just something you or somebody made up. But I know what I saw, and that they really do exist. I'm sorry to hear they're still harassing you." I answered her email with a question. What does Linda remember? She says she doesn't remember anything about it, and she doesn't even remember Brian the Creep. I don't think she's lying. I think she honestly has blotted it out. And that is the strength of the night floaters. No one believes in them, allowing them to operate openly. But I know they really do exist, and will continue broadcasting about them on this channel as long as I'm able, until they get me. But I do fear that someday, and maybe soon, they will in fact get me.